I'm just going to make sure. I'm going to hit my LinkedIn and hit post. I just want to see this coming through. So it looks like I'm live on LinkedIn, and I believe we're live on YouTube. I'm not seeing the post yet. Let's double check here. This is the first time I've tried that, so let's. I just want to confirm things before we go forward. Yeah, it looks like we are live. Is it live or is it Memorex? Isn't that the way it goes?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. So
That shows your age, though.
you're right. It shows my age. Okay. Well, Mr. Joe Andre, thank you
Hi, Tom.
for thanks for joining today. And I'm not seeing. Wait, I got to make sure that this is working. Um, Let me just make sure. 1 second. Um, yeah, yeah. I think we are. I think I'm live. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm good. All right. So we're talking about now the Eastern Section meeting,
Yes, sir.
which is also going virtual. So I'm Thomas Dimitrovich, and then you are Joe Andre. And Joe, you and Paul Dobrowski are going to be presenting on grounding and bonding concepts. So why don't you do this? Why don't you share a little bit about yourself to let everybody out there in the Eastern Section know who you are and all that jazz, and then just give us a little overview on some of the things you want to talk about from grounding and bonding perspective.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tom. And it's a pleasure to be able to contribute. And this is the most enjoyable part of my job. My job being I'm retired, but that didn't take, so I failed at retirement. And currently, I represent the Steel Tube Institute. I'm a technical advisor to them. Do presentations at meetings around the country. So this is exciting for me. Get back on the horse.
Awesome.
Um, my background is I've been a contractor, a journeyman electrician, an electrical inspector, plans examiner, um, field rep for NEMA for several years.
Yeah.
And now for the last, I think, 6 years, I've been representing the Steel Tube Institute on a part-time contract basis. So I'm also a member of Code Panel 5, as is Paul, and that has jurisdiction over Article 250 on grounding. Paul's been there a lot longer than me. I'm still learning from him and a lot of other people on that panel. But this will be my coming up on my third go round on Panel 5. I was also a member of Panel 1 for a couple of years when I was with NEMA. So, in a
Awesome.
nutshell, that's where I'm coming from. And what we want to do is talk about grounding, of course, but we can spend days and days on that, and I'm pretty sure that your audience doesn't want to do that, especially if you got to listen to me. So we're gonna focus in on a specific aspect. We'll talk about some of the general overviews of grounding. Going to emphasize 250.4. My personal opinion, that's some of the best code writing anywhere. Because it tells you why you're doing things, and then the rest of Article 250 tells you how to do it. And then we're going to focus on not connection to Earth, because that's an awful lot of 250, and everybody does that. We're going to focus on the establishing an adequate, permanent, low impedance path for ground fault, because we think that's very important. That's the physical and protection, personnel protection part of it as much as anything. And we're going to go into some of the requirements, some of the challenges in complying with that. And then we're going to introduce a computer program called Jemmy that was funded by the Steel Tube Institute. We just got through updating it at a fair amount of cost, and it's free to everyone. You can download it. Right now, it sits on your computer. We're working also on getting an app that you can put on your phone. So, and what that does, it's going to help us prove compliance with Article 250.122 and the note on the bottom of that so many people, in my experience, either miss or ignore. And we think that's very important. So that's where, in a nutshell, that's what we're going to do without ruining the ending. But we're going to talk about why we have those notes. We're going to talk about compliance through the equipment bonding and grounding means in that are described in 250.118. And then we're going to go into a little bit of the program. I'll have some screenshots, and we may have time to go in live and show some of the functions of it. So that'll help us comply with 250.122. And for anybody who might be on the 2020 edition of the National Electrical Code, we actually put an exception in there where you can show compliance through this program by a qualified person. We talked about doing an engineer, but you don't need to be an engineer to run the program. So it's an alternative to following the table. If you can show compliance through this program, or if there's others out there, then we've given you a pathway to do that.
That's pretty cool. So the program helps us understand how to make sure that we're providing the right size equipment, ground, and conductor. Is that?
Yeah, exactly. 250.122 in the note at the bottom actually covers us from both directions on performance. Part of it is, I've got so much fault current that my conductor may burn off before the overcurrent device opens.
Right.
Now that's fairly rare because, the 5-second fault current rating of a conductor is, you have to have an awful lot of fault current before you have a problem with that. What the other end of this is, I've got a long run and so much impedance in it and the voltage drop that I don't have enough fault current to operate the overcurrent device at least into the instantaneous range. And that's what we need for personnel safety. And that's where the GEMI program will help us. It's usually smaller circuits, longer runs, where the fault current isn't high to begin with and may fall off to the point where the overcurrent device isn't reacting properly.
Okay.
And we can show compliance. That's where we're focused, is showing compliance on that end of the requirements.
So you were saying about possibly doing a demonstration. Would this be something on your computer that you're going to share out your computer?
Yeah, I would have to do that. I've got some screenshots to show what the program will do. But if we can figure this out and if we have time, I might be able to go live on my computer and show this and just plug numbers in and demonstrate, compliance with strictly metal raceway plus a supplemental equipment grounding conductor, and then a circuit, say in PVC or cable without the metal raceway, and we can compare those and see how they perform one against the other under the same circumstances. I think it's a very, very useful program, and it's easy and quick.
Wow. I tell you what, you just got me excited about watching this program, because I've not, I've heard about that application, but I've never played with it. I have never seen it operate. And I'm totally clueless when it comes to how I could relate that with a real world application. And I think this is going to be really cool.
Hopefully we'll be able to demonstrate that and make it clear. And like I say, it's free to download. Anybody who's doing design, plan review, even out in the field, if you're not using this or something like it, you're missing the boat. I mean, you can do this calculation through resistance tables and stuff like that, and it gets very complex. You're an engineer, I'm sure it's more sensible to you, but anybody can download this, plug in a few parameters, hit update, and it will give you a number, maximum length that you can run under the circumstances.
Well, that's pretty cool.
And if it's not compliant, we can change the parameters. Let's say I've got 3/4 inch EMT, and I need to go 500 feet with it for a parking lot or a rooftop application, and it won't comply because of the impedance of that length. Well, I can check this and say, well, what happens if I put a grounding conductor in it? Or what happens if I upsize the EMT to 1 inch? I can play with that until I prove compliance.
So let me ask you a question. When you have a long run like that, when you say compliance, are we looking at you need to trip the overcurrent protective device?
Yeah, if you go back to 250.4, right, A5, I believe it is, it talks about being able to trip the overcurrent device. To facilitate the operation of the overcurrent device, you have a ground fault current path of, intentional,
right,
sufficiently low impedance to facilitate the operation of the overcurrent device. And you're a gear guy, and you're a fuse and breaker guy. We want to get into the instantaneous portion. We don't want this to sit there and wait,
Ah,
because if you wait for the thermal part, it may or may not happen. It may not happen quickly. And what's the hazard? You've got voltage imposed on exposed, normally non-current carrying parts, and that's what we want to avoid.
interesting. Well, that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. That I'm going to learn something there. I know that much.
Well,
That's
and,
cool.
and you could probably weigh in on this too, because as you know, overcurrent devices
Yeah.
could have different trip settings, especially in the instantaneous. We usually use about 5 times the handle rating, but that's not necessarily always the case.
I know. It
So we
depends
can
on the
change
size.
that plan.
Well, for a thermomagnetic circuit breaker, it's 10 times. I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know any thermomag breaker that'll be less than 10 times
Okay.
the handle
Well,
rating. And then, but if you
yeah.
throw an electronic trip unit on there, now you're up to 12. It could, depending upon the device, it could be up there higher, because you're not dealing just with thermomag breakers. I mean, you could be
Oh, sure.
dealing with a larger breaker too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this will give you the ability to change that parameter and see what the implications are. Obviously, the quicker the device operates, the longer the run can be and still be in compliance. But if you've got a 12-time handle rating,
Yeah.
that's going to drastically affect compliance with 25122.
So you're saying this is a free download off the web. Is there maybe I can put the URL to that on this announcement down below, so that people can download it even before before the program, which is you're on the 30th. They could download it,
Right.
so that they can have it while you're playing with it and we're talking about it.
Sure, we can do that. I mean, it's on the conduit section of the Steel Tube Institute, which is steeltubeinstitute.org. And because the Steel Tube Institute also has structural and things like that, there's a drop-down menu where you go to conduit, and then you can follow a couple of links from there. And anybody can download this. Like I said, we have just updated it, and I'm going to be showing some of the new features
Awesome.
that are better than what we have had.
So Diego Redondo, thanks for joining us, Diego. He asks, what is the name of the software, Joe?
The name of the software is GEMI, and it stands for Grounding and Electromagnetic Interference.
Wait, what is
So
that
there's
again?
functions on there that I don't use. GEMI.
Jammy.
Grounding and Electromagnetic Interference. GEMI.
Oh, okay. GEMI. Okay. I always called it Jemmy. You called it Jam. Okay. So I got
What
you.
did I say?
You say potato, I say potato.
I'm an East Coast guy. We should have the same pronunciation.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'll do is I'll be the interpreter, like that little guy down there.
I usually only need that when I go to the southern section, but okay, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, so thanks. So we got Diego Redondo out there. Nihad El Sharif is online. I saw my buddy Steve Froming online as well. So again, so Diego says thanks. So I'll put the link to that below in the information, so that people can download it.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that'll be good. And we're going to have Paul Dobrowski. Now, we just did this trial, so for everybody out there, we didn't leave Paul out of this. Paul had another meeting at 4:30, and we were having difficulty with trying to get him online with this, so I'm going to do a session with him tomorrow and try to work out his details with WebEx and make sure we can get him online. But he won't be a nice picture like you, Joe. He's going to be. What I've got to do is I've got to go back through some of my photographs, and I'll put his picture down below, and I'll put you up top, and we'll hear his audio, and we'll see you and hear your audio. So that should be good.
That sounds great.
Excellent. So I'm excited about the Eastern section. The link to register is down below on the YouTube site. So I'm streaming right now to the Eastern section YouTube site. If you're watching this on my YouTube site, I'll put a link to in fact, if you go to my connections, I don't know what they call that, my pages or whatever, you'll see I friended or I've subscribed to the Eastern section and the Western section. So
Okay.
you've got to check out the Eastern section and subscribe to it. Hit the bell because we're starting to load these up. And if you haven't seen them yet, I've done a program with Jim Rogers this morning, and I will be doing more with other presenters for the Eastern section. We've got a great lineup. And you know what? You know, Joe, you're doing the Western section and you're going to do the Eastern section, but you don't have to get on a plane. Isn't that nice?
I miss the. I don't miss the travel. I miss the people when I get there. But
You know what?
but yeah, it's great to be able to
Yeah.
do this under these conditions. Yeah.
Yep. So Diego Redondo, he says Diego's, I believe, out of Costa Rica, I think. Diego, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you're out of Costa Rica. He says, in our country, there are dwellings with feeders of 100, 200, and 300 meter distance. In these cases, the equipment grounding conductor between the main switch and the main panel has this problem that Joe mentions.
Great.
Yeah, so this should be, in his opinion, so this should be a good discussion, and hopefully people are going to get a lot out of this one. So what's really cool, Joe, is you're doing? What are you doing for the Western section? Your topic is
I'm doing transformer
That's right.
and secondary overcurrent protection.
transformer secondary overcurrent protection, and in this meeting you're doing grounding and bonding. So what's kind of cool is the Western section has a different program than the Eastern section. So there's no double dipping. There's not like you're doing the same program in two different locations. You're covering something totally different. And in fact, there's nothing that the Eastern section is doing that overlaps with what the Western section is doing. So both of those programs, great opportunity for CEU credits, which is I would think the lowest cost CEU credits out there, and the value proposition of the talented content that and the presenters that we're going to have. So.
And Tom, just to clarify too, you said that you're streaming this to the Eastern section
YouTube site
on YouTube.
Yep.
But you don't have to be a member of Eastern section. Anybody in the world can pop into this and take advantage of it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good.
In fact, I got an email today from one of my YouTube guys they're always tuning in. He's out of Mexico, and he is joining the International Association of Electrical Inspectors because you get a discount as an IAEI member. So what he's doing is he's joining. He sent me an email and he said, "Can I join even though I'm out of Mexico?" And I was like, "Well, it says International Association." So I sent a note down to Keith Laughlin and to Jody Wages, and they were like, yes, 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 yes. So he's going to join. And I would, to your point, anybody can attend this, whether you're an IAI member or not. Anybody globally can attend it. And anybody globally can join the IAEI and receive the discount price for the program. So.
Absolutely.
And this
the IAEI has chapters. I think there's 2 now in Colombia.
Yeah.
Not the District of Columbia, but the country. Mexico, I think, is part of the Southwestern section.
Yes.
There are, of course, we've got Canada. That's its own. But we also have chapters, I believe, in Japan and Korea and Saudi Arabia and things like that. So it is truly an international organization.
That's awesome. And you know what, Diego Redondo in Costa Rica, you could start the Costa Rica IAEI section, which would be awesome. And it's
I expect the first invitation to go do training.
Absolutely. Yes, that's right. And it's got to be you and I, and we have to do it in person.
There you go.
Yeah. Yep. And we have to have the shirts and the whole bit. But if somebody wanted to start an IAI chapter, I know the West Virginia started as a division of the Ohio chapter, and Jack Jameson started that group. And basically, it was, hey, how do I do this? We didn't know how to do it, and the Ohio chapter guys, Tom Moore and those guys, helped him make that happen. So, if you have a group of electrical people, I would say electrical people would be the focus. Doesn't have to be electrical engineers, doesn't have to be contractors. Mm-hmm. You would probably be interested in the electrical industry. And it's an opportunity to have, section or not section meetings, but chapter meetings or division meetings, have your own meetings, be able to give out CU credits from the international office and all that jazz. So, and then connect with everybody else across the country to ask these types of questions. Like Diego's saying, he may be in Costa Rica, but he has, the laws of physics don't cease to exist because I always wanted to say that, because of the country that you're in. Electricity is used everywhere, and I may not know the specifics about their installations, but we know the code, we know the physics, and we can help as a network of professionals.
Absolutely.
Yep. So he says Costa Rica would love to be a part of the IEI. I threw the love in. He said but I'm throwing the love in. Excellent. I'm just going to check my my Facebook site. I usually get, so we don't announce these things, and I usually get people to watch these after the fact. So if you're watching this after the fact, we were live, and that is Joe Andre. He is presenting on grounding and bonding, and we're going to be learning some new tools. Very practical. I like their approach, Joe, because if you take that software and show how it can be used, you're teaching grounding and bonding. You're teaching the principles of why we do what we do, but then you're providing a good tool.
That's what we hope. We hope everybody gets something out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll put the link to the tool that he talked about down below after we get done with this. And we'll see how your program goes on the 30th, and you're in the afternoon this time. Why wouldn't they put you at 10 o'clock in the morning?
Because that's East Coast time, and you don't want to see me at 7 o'clock, although you're going to a couple of times anyway.
We are going to see you at 10 o'clock in the morning at the Western section.
That's right. That's
You're
7
welcome.
o'clock my time, by the way.
You're welcome. I apologize.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but that's not too bad. So that's good. So you're at 2 o'clock Eastern on the 30th. Grounding and bonding concepts with Joe Andre and Paul Dobrowski. We will have a picture of Paul, the most interesting man in the world.
There you go.
This is good stuff. So, well, beautiful. And don't go anyway, Joe. I'm gonna shut this feed down and say thanks to everybody out there. But you and I, what I'd like to do, Joe, is just practice sharing your screen to see how that's going to work out. Right. So we'll do that. But I want to just say thanks to everybody who's dialed in, and those of you who are watching this after the fact. Remember, register for the Eastern Section meeting. I'll put the link is down below. If you click on that, you'll see the program, the topics that we're going to cover, and the speaker information. Who will be the presenters? We're gonna have Fred Hartwell, who is the editor of the what's the book? The Electrician's Handbook.
The handbook,
yeah. So he's got the Electrician's Handbook. So there are probably a lot of electricians out there. That's a thick handbook, and he's a smart man. It's going to be great. He's going to be talking about ampacity, which you don't want to miss that one. So thanks, Nihad, Diego. Thank you for tuning in from Costa Rica, and Steve Froming and crew. So I appreciate that, and anybody else out there. So remember, stay safe, stay healthy as well, and make sure that you register up and subscribe to the Eastern Section YouTube channel so you don't miss anything in the future. Any last words, Joe? I'll leave that last one to you.
No, just thanks for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to doing the program with Paul and getting some questions and feedback. And thanks for thinking of me here.
Awesome. Thank you, Joseph. And everybody out there, thank you. Take care. God bless. Stay healthy and stay safe. We're shutting this feed down.